Hi friends, it's Belinda here from Be Making Joy. Welcome to episode 73 of What Brings Me Joy. I am a knitting pattern designer in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I do this podcast to share what's on my knitting needles, what projects I've just finished, what stages my active works are at. And this is often the first place where you will get sneak peeks at my upcoming designs, which I have one in this episode. I am recording this episode on Thursday, June 11th, 2026. Goodness gracious, I really do want to go back in time, don't I? If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, I'm so glad to have you back. It's been 3 weeks since my last episode, and I have 4 of my WIPs that I've been working on. You know, for 2 weeks, it felt like nothing was getting done, nothing was making progress, and then all of a sudden, things started coming into place, which is good because I was struggling with some deadlines, self-imposed deadlines. But anyway, first let's do a bit of a life update before we get into the knitting. I told you last episode that our middle daughter had bought a house. So we went up to Edmonton to help her move in. In the end, my husband couldn't come because he had work meetings to deal with. But Ilana and I both went up with my minivan. I have a Chrysler Town and Country stow and go where all the seats fold flat and it turns into a cargo van. I love that van. It's a 2014. I won't give it up, because they don't make them like that anymore. They do still do some stow and go seats in the new Pacifica, but I never liked the Pacifica. But anyway, my husband's family are Chrysler dealers, or were before we all sold out. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I love the van, and for the stow and go seats, we went up to help her move, although she hired movers, but we took from here a table that was in our garage for a while, what the family calls the traveling table. Dan's mother had it when she was single, way back, in Toronto, and then moved with it to Winnipeg, where she got married. It came to Calgary with them. It has nick marks all over it from when Dan and his brother were playing with knives, I guess. And then it came to us when our kids were young. So there's paint splatters on it from crafts, arts and crafts. There's one round black, the size of a tea light candle, burn mark in it, which I'm responsible for, actually. I was with one of the daughters. We were playing with the candle and sticking matches in it, which was ridiculous. Anyway, so it's got the whole family history in the table. And our oldest daughter took it when she moved. It's been in a couple of her apartments, and then came back to our garage when she moved into an employee housing arrangement. And now Cassie's got it. And we gave her some of the chairs that we had too many of chairs just puttering around the house. And a few other things. So Ilana and I went up, helped her move. We went up on Friday, went to her workplace, met her boss, and it kind of felt like a parent-teacher interview. They all say they really like her. She's our bright, hardworking girl. I'm quite proud of her. I'm quite proud of her for buying her house and making all the arrangements herself. And yeah, it's a wonderful house. She got possession of it on the Friday. There was a delay getting the key. It was like 3 o'clock before she got the key. We helped her take apart her bed that day. She slept on the mattress on the floor that night. We were in a hotel. And then the next morning, the movers were to be there for 9 o'clock. So we went over at 8:30 and picked up her cat. Took the cat over to the house to hang out while we waited for her and the movers to come, which took all morning. And then when the mover came, we put the cat in the bathroom for the duration. And while we were there, Ilana, the youngest daughter, hid some ducks all over the place. Cassie is a Jeep driver, And if you know, you know. For Jeep drivers, rubber ducks are a thing. It's a thing to put a duck on somebody else's Jeep in a parking lot. So Cassie has quite the duck collection. And we've been buying the occasional one for her as well. Because when we travel, there are actually duck stores. There was one in Prague. There was a whole bunch in Amsterdam. Even Hawaii. We got a rubber ducky in Hawaii that, it wasn't a duck store, it was in a regular store. But had a hula skirt on it, and a Leia, I think it was. Anyway, so just before we left, we went to a dollar store in Lanai for something else and stumbled across a package of rubber ducks. So it's a package of 6 rubber ducks. My cat is meowing again. He's been getting louder and louder, distracting me. I'll come back and tell you more about the rubber ducks. Okay, so dollar store, a package of rubber ducks. And then she found a larger rubber duck, plastic actually, but they're, you know, Ernie and his rubber duck. So on the larger duck, she wrote a label across his chest, or taped to his chest, her chest. It said, "My babies have gone missing, please find them." And then on each of the baby ducks, the label said, "Please take me to my mama." So she hid those throughout the house for Cassie to find as she was unpacking. And that was fun. By the time we left, she found 2 baby ducks, and then a mama duck, and then 2 more baby ducks. No, 1 more baby duck. And then after we left, she sent a picture. She had found the 4th baby duck. And we just found out last night that she had found 5 and 6. There were 6 of them, and they were labeled. She had found 5 and 6, but 5 and 6 were in the shed and in the garage, so that took her a little longer to find. Anyway, so fun. What else has been going on? Since we've been home, we've had a few meetings and outings. We've gone to Stage West with another couple friends of ours. Stage West is a dinner theater here in Calgary where you have a huge buffet available to you from like 6 p.m. to 7:45 p.m. And then the lights go out and the play starts. And then intermission, the dessert tray is available. Well, the dessert tray is available before the play starts. So you can fill your plate and sit there eating your desserts while you're watching. But so it's always a wonderful buffet. Seafood, sushi, roast beef, various dishes of veggies and chicken, and then the desserts. They're famous for their rum balls. I mean, they're famous in our house for their rum balls. Anyway, so guess who? Stage West. The show was Backwoods Barbie, which was all Dolly Parton music, and that was fun. And then we also went to the Guess Who's concert last Monday. Guess Who was a band in Canada from the late 60s, early 70s. They were really rocking it. They had a radio show in Winnipeg. And then they Burton Cummings and Randy Bachlan. They became famous also for other stuff. Anyway, so they got back together, got a new band back together, and we're doing their Take It Back tour. Lots of fun. It was a wonderful concert. So Burton Cummings is 78 years old, he said. And then I looked up, Randy Bachman is 82 years old. I'm still rocking up a storm. They zoom in on their fingers and on the keyboard and the guitar, and it's amazing. It was. Yeah, I think that's about it. So let's get on to the knitting now. My first finished object is the Multiplicity socks by Amanda Stevens of Cold Sheep Designs. This was the qualifier sock for Super Sock World Championships, a competition I had no business joining while I had other things I needed to get done, but I almost joined last year and then didn't and had FOMO, so this year I joined. And Super Sock World Championships is based on a car track, race track theme, there are various laps. But first there's a qualifier lap. So these are the qualifier socks. We had a choice of, out of 3, we had to choose one pattern to do for the qualifier sock. This pattern is written in 5 sizes from a 5.25 inch circumference to a 9-inch circumference. But to make the competition fair for everyone, to make sure that we're all knitting a certain number of stitches, I guess, we had to make the 64 stitch size at least. And we had to do it to a certain foot length, and we could not skimp on the leg length. So it's too big for me, way too big. I did take note while I was working it that if I want to make it kind of fit me, I'll have to frog back to this point and then do the toe there. Even at that, it's not snug. I've got no negative ease in it. It would just be a house sock or a boot sock. Or I could find someone else that it would fit. The stitch markers in it are, because you need to do that for your submission photos, you need to have it laid out flat so that they could look and see, I guess, how well you've done. And they can see the counts of where each repeat is supposed to be. It was a complicated pattern because not every row was the same. Even though there is kind of a repeat, it's not a set repeat. It grows each round. So let's see if you can tell the slant in opposite directions. So there's a right and a left. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter which one you put on your right foot or your left foot, but there's a difference. It changes the look. The yarn I used is Sock NATO from Ancient Arts Yarns here in Calgary, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, I think. Yes, I believe. Excuse me. But because I'm making a larger size, I ran out. I played yarn chicken, and you know, as you're getting closer and closer to the end of the ball, you knit faster and faster because you need to find out if it's going to work. So on the second sock, I kind of ran out about here. They were knit cuff down. So I kind of ran out about here and thought I was going to have an excuse to go yarn shopping again. But Ilana came to the rescue. My daughter, she had a mini in her collection of the same exact color. And I'm not sure which sock it was, but you can't see a difference at all where I put in the new skein. So she lent it to me. So I don't know if that means I need to give her back. I used about 2 grams out of her 20 gram mini. So does that mean I owe her 2 grams now? I think she's taken enough of my yarn over the last couple of years that we can call it even, right? Anyway, let me check my notes, make sure I've said everything I wanted to say about those. It was done on a 2.25 millimeter needle, although actually I did realize eventually that the needles I was using were Japanese needles. And it was actually a I forget the number, 2.23 something. I'll show you my needles. I ordered some years back from a company called Wish, which is an Oriental company. I always thought it was Chinese, but I don't know. And I thought I was just getting a needle case. And I would love to know what that says, if anybody knows and can tell me what that says. Which language it is. I assume it's Japanese now. I don't think I've learned all about Japanese needles. But I thought I was just getting a storage case, but it came full of needles. Beautiful metal needles. And at one point I put them through my regular stitch gauge and labeled them as to what I thought they were. But I recently was watching a podcast, The Nerdy Knitter, where she was talking with Japanese needles, and then I realized that's what these are. So they're off by 0.1 of a millimeter from our Canadian metric sizes. Whatever. So that's the needles I used, and it still came out too big. Now the lap 1, you can make some modifications, but there's still a minimum size. It's still the smallest size is 68 stitches. So I'll use those same needles. We'll see what we get. But this time you're allowed to shorten the sock. But the circumference has to be a minimum size circumference. So the theory is, I guess, you adjust your needle sizes to get the circumference you need. I mean, not in the actual pattern, but in your tinkering. So, yeah, there's 2 patterns to choose from for the next lap 1. And so I need to make a decision on those soon and cast on. The patterns dropped yesterday. And the deadline to get these ones done is the 28th, I believe, which is 2.5 weeks. So I'll get those started soon. Now, another finished object to show you is my stadium sit-upon. I finally got it all seamed up and a zipper installed. Here's the zipper head. Now, this stadium sit-upon is a pattern that I published a few years ago, and it contains graphs for the hockey sticks, a football, a baseball, a soccer ball, and I guess any of those balls you can... Did I do a basketball? I think I did. I didn't knit one, but I think I drew one. Graphed out one. Anyway, so I made it with a carry handle so I could take it along with me to the stadium. But I did get a sneak peek at the new seats for the new Calgary Flames arena, and they're super comfortable. Not going to need a cushion. But anyway, I was knitting the panels during the hockey games this winter. I got to maybe less than half the hockey games all year, the Calgary Flames. So this yarn is in the Calgary Flames colorway, hat trick sock needle from Ancient Arts Yarns. And of course the black. I'm not even sure where that black came from. But finger and weight. Yeah, so I was working on another one because I wanted to submit it to the Calgary Stampede, what's it called now? Creative Arts and Crafts exhibition at the Stampede competition. So I took my time with it. I think it went pretty well. Now, as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I try not to be nationalistic, but it still happens. Their theme for this year is glowing hearts, which coincidentally, it's the words from the Canadian national anthem, which they do play at every hockey game, football game, etc., etc. So maybe this will qualify. Okay, that's that. Now, the new design that I've been working on and hoping to have ready to submit to the Stampede, the deadline to submit is June the 19th, so that's a week away now. This is a pattern that I drafted a few years ago for my professional knitwear designer certification course. My working title is Maple Leaf Cardigan. I'd love to come up with a better title. If you have any suggestions, welcome to send them to me. I'm using worsted weight yarn on 6mm needles, a US 10, so a quick knit. Doing it in pieces and seaming it together. If you can tell, there's maple leaves in the design, just done with purl stitches. So partially seamed here, partially pinned up and hanging. Normally I would block my pieces before I seam, but this, especially if it's a wool animal byproduct, you should block your pieces before you seam because they will grow. But this is acrylic. It's Lion Brand Pound of Love, so it won't grow. But when I am finished seaming it all together, I will give it a nice block to smooth out all those stitches. So, and there's the leaves run up the sleeve, and they run all across the back. So as soon as I get, and there's a collar yet to be picked up and work. So as soon as I get it all done, photographs taken, I will send it off to my tech editor. I should be looking for test knitters by the end of the month. So stay tuned. Yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comment section down below, or you can message me on social media. I'm everywhere as Be Making Joy. Okay, let me take this off and be right back. So I mentioned last episode that I have committed to knitting 4 pairs of fingerless gloves by the end of July, to be part of some costumes that for a skit that some members of our congregation are preparing for an upcoming event. I know nothing about the skit. I don't know what the 4 characters are, just that she sent me a picture of some kind of glove and said, can you knit me something similar? And so 4 pairs, 2 women and 2 men. So now I've got 1 pair done. Still need to even my ends. Got 1 pair done and half of the second pair of the ladies' size. So I am almost halfway there. I have till the end of July, but these have been perfect to knit during phone calls and stuff when because they're simple for me. For me, they're simple. I've written out my instructions on a cue card that I don't mind showing you. I have no plans of publishing the pattern per se because there are lots of fingerless gloves patterns out there and a lot of them are free. Maybe I might just simply put that in my blog on my website at some point. So I'll tell you, for the ladies' size, I cast on 36 stitches in a worsted weight wool. What size needles was I using? 4.5 millimeter needles. So it's a nice quick knit. I cast on 36 stitches. I did 8 rounds of the 2x2 rib. I did 8 rounds of stockinette, and then started the increases until it went up to 40. Read your note. 46 stitches. And then I bound off 14 stitches for the thumb, left with 36 stitches on the hand. I wanted the hand a little snugger because the picture she showed me actually had the fingers divided off, but I'm not going to do individual fingers. But with it being a little snugger, you can't tell whether it's like on the stage. You won't think about it. So I went down to 32 stitches for the hand. I did 4 rounds of stockinette and then 8 rounds of the 2x2 rib and then bound off. There you have it. There's my recipe. And then for the men's size, I'm going to try starting with 40 stitches. So that's roughly an inch wider in the circumference. And did I work out the rest of the numbers yet? I'm not sure. I'm going to increase until it gets to 50 stitches. That doesn't make sense. It's got to be more than that. 36 to 46. I went from 36 stitches to 46 stitches. So if I do 40 stitches with going up to the increase of 50 stitches be enough? When I get to that point, I'll have to check. whether we need more increases or not. Anyway, that's that. Like I said, simple, perfect for when I'm on phone calls. There's been a lot of phone calls this week. My mother had a fall and broke her hip, so please send some prayers for her recovery. It's hard not being there, even though there'd be nothing to do except sit in the hospital. It's hard not being there and not knowing what the next steps are, what her recovery is going to look like. I'm just on eggshells right now, but it will work out. That's all the projects that I have been working on. I have going to do update my WIP count numbers in my book, update my grams in, grams out numbers in my book, and then show you my acquisitions. So, where's my book? My WIP count, last episode I had 7 active works in progress. I finished the Multiplicity socks and the hockey sit-upon. That brings me down to 5 projects on the needle. My temperature scarf, my dishcloths, the jean cardigan, the maple leaf sweater, and the fingerless mittens. Yes, I remember the dishcloths this time. I will be casting on another pair of socks very soon, as I told you. And I have 2 summer tops that I am itching to start on as soon as I finish the maple leaf cardigan and the jean cardigan. They are both so close to being done. Then I'm going to cast on 2 t-shirts. Where is it? After last episode, wrote out my list of deadlines, and that really was helpful to help me focus. My work deadlines and personal deadlines. So that really helped me gain some focus. The next design I want to start working on is to design a bag for the TKGA, the Knitting Guild Association design contest, whose due date is September 30th. And I have the idea. The idea has been formed for years. I just hadn't started knitting on it. I'd done a swatch. I haven't actually written it down. It's still in my head, all the instructions, and I haven't started knitting on it. So that's going to get started real soon. Anyway, so we're at 5 works in progress right now. Hopefully next episode I have 2 more finishes. 3 more finishes maybe. I'm not sure when I'll do the next episode. I've kind of slowed down to every 3 weeks, and I think that works for me. So probably I'll have a pair of socks and 2 sweaters done by that episode. Anyway, there are acquisitions, and I have been tracking my grams in, grams out. Trying to work down on my stash and stop buying more than I can knit. So I've been keeping track of how much have I been knitting compared to how much I have been buying. So I weigh my projects when they're finished and add it to my grams in, grams out list. So at the end of last episode was May 22nd. And at that point, my year-to-date stat was that I used 1,187.54 grams more than I have bought through 2026 so far. There was no further change in May. I'm only weighing the finished objects, so I didn't finish them till June. The first 2 weeks of June were pretty busy. The Multiplicity socks weighed 108 grams, and the hockey sit-upon weighed 188 grams. And I bought a 100 gram skein yarn. So that brings my year-to-date total to, I didn't write it in the book, but I wrote it in my notes, 1,385.54 grams out. Awesome. I am going to a fiber festival on Saturday. I don't really have any plans to buy yarn. But I have gone through my upcoming plans and made a list of some yarns that I might use. but I don't really have plans to buy them yet. But I'm not going to go willy-nilly. Okay, so that one skein of yarn that I bought. Oh, and I also bought fiber, fleece, wool, raw wool to show you. So, first the yarn. There is a upcoming challenge. It actually is this weekend. Ann Budd, a designer, has been doing a fundraiser every year for a while now for Alzheimer's research. And I did participate 2 years ago, I think it was, maybe 3. My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's dementia for quite some time before she passed away, and it was very, it affected our family tremendously. So I support this fundraiser for research for Alzheimer's because we need to learn more about causes and prevention and etc. And research has been getting better in the last couple of years. So Ann Budd, her fundraiser is the sales of her pattern go to Alzheimer's, and she designs a cowl every year, something with a faded memories theme. And I wonder how far away the one I made last time is. Yeah, right here. Oops, sorry. So whichever year I participated, this was the pattern. So we can see it fades. The braid, I think, gets bigger as it comes down. It gets bigger and spreads out, and the color fades. So Fading Memories is her theme. So this year's Fading Memories cowl, I'll pop a picture up here for you. And she partners with a yarn company each year. And this year, Gauge Dye Works is who I bought from. And of course, contribute to this fundraiser too for all their sales of this product. So just let me get the rattling out of the way. There's something else in this bag I want to grab first. So they included a bookmark, which is actually a ruler. So there's the company and their QR code. And the yarn they designed, they had 2 colors. One was more blues and greens, and this one was Opal Memories. And if you know me, you know this was the one I was going to choose, right? Of course. So Opal Memories is it's on a 4-ply sock base. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. This is a 100-gram skein, 425 meters. Now we're going to open it and unwrap it together because my understanding is because the pattern needs a variegated and a solid, I think this purple has to be a separate skein. So let's make sure of that. It's hard to tell with the way they're tied together. But I think so. I think so because the purple is all separated. It's not commingled. So I think it is 2 separate skeins in there. So I will get them wound up probably before I finish editing this video. So I'll put in pictures of the wound cakes in. And the cast on party is June 14th. Now, she used to do it as the longest day event, which is summer solstice, which is June 21st. She used to do it on the closest Sunday to that. June 21st this year is actually on Sunday, but it is Canadian Father's Day. So that might be why she moved to June the 14th instead. So on June 14th, there are several Zoom sessions you can join in with Ann and talk about the patterning as you work on it. But, today we are heading out to Canmore for 4 or 5 days. So hopefully I don't have to drive. Hopefully I can be the passenger princess. It's only an hour and 15-minute drive. I think I will cast a song after I come back from the Fiber Festival Saturday night, so I get a start on it Saturday night. then work on it all day Sunday. And then if I don't finish it and I don't pick it back up again till fall, that's okay. I'm not giving myself a deadline on this one. Okay, I'm going to just put this on the bed to be wound as soon as we're done. So the purple is all coming off first, and then the variegated will come off. I still can't tell if they're two separate skeins or if they're just attached. Let's keep winding. Yeah, it's all one skein. Cool. That would have been fun to dye. I could keep winding and then work from both the inside and the outside at the same time, but I think I'm going to unwrap these last couple of wraps and cut the yarn and cake two separate cakes. I think that would be less likely to get tangled as I'm working. Now, I also have some wool fiber to show you. Let's make some space here. So I joined a Breed of the Month club with Longway Homestead, a sheep farm and mill run by Anna Hunter. Most sheep lovers in Canada know Anna Hunter because of the book that she wrote, The True Cost of Wool. I joined the club in April. April's shipment went astray for a while, arrived in May, as did May's shipment. But when I did the last podcast episode, I forgot about my wool. Forgot to share. So every month we get a few ounces of wool to spin, each month featuring a different breed. And she sends a card each month about the breed. So this is April. So I'm going to read it, for which I need eyes, and then we'll open the package. Wensleydale, and I forgot to mention, she doesn't have all these sheep herself. She partners with different farms across the country. The Wensleydale breed was started in 1839 in North Yorkshire. In fact, it might be the only breed whose ancestry can be traced to a single sheep. It was a ram lamb born to a mug ewe, a type of Teeswater ewe, and the sire was a new Leicestershire. They named him Blue Cap. He was a viral ram and was used by many shepherds for many years to breed Teeswater ewes. The blue-headed trait from the Leicestershire ancestry was passed to his progeny, and they became known as Wensleydales. And about the wool. Wensleydale wool is long and lustrous and most often has a beautiful sheen to it. It can also be fairly soft and fine, depending on the animal. Wensleydale wool hangs in a distinct ringlet-type curls and will not felt easily. It is naturally white, gray, or black. Wensleydale yarn works well for projects that require more strength and drape. It is a beautiful yarn to be used in weaving, rugs, and upholstery, and for knitting and crochet it brings clear stitch definition and beautiful drape. The average staple length of the wool is 7 to 12 inches. The fiber diameter is 30 to 36 microns, and the more microns, the finer and softer the fleece. The fleece weight from a single sheep is between 10 to 15 pounds. And it's in ringlet curls. It's long, wavy, distinctive, lots of luster, and smooth. So let's check it out. It comes all vacuum packed. So I haven't opened it yet because I wanted to wait to share it with you, and then I forgot to share it with you. So let's cut it open. This one looks brown. There's our bat. Must be the string that's tight. I guess it's in a roving format. Right, the string like a starting point. Yeah, it's a roving. Here we go. So lovely. You can see the curl a bit. So soft. Next to skin soft. Yes, next to skin soft. So, you might remember I did get into spinning last summer with tortoise, and I had plans to keep up with it every Sunday that we were home. And then that petered off because we were often not home on Sundays, and then I would forget how to drop spindle and not get back into the rhythm of it. But I'm going to participate in Tour de Fleece again this July. I'm going to get back into the rhythm of it. And I am tossing around the idea of buying an e-spinner. I should probably go ahead and order one because I've been wanting one for a couple of years. The drop spindle is nice, but my hand-eye coordination is struggling. So I think I'll get an e-spinner. So that is the Wensleydale. And then we have, and you can see that it's still got flecks of hay and stuff in it. It's straight from the farm. I mean, they have scoured it and carded it and made it ready to spin. But there will still be some fibers of grass and stuff in it. All right, let's put this aside with its card and open up May's. So May was the blue-faced Leicester, and there are over 1,000 breeds of sheep. This one's pretty popular, blue-faced Leicester. Merino, of course, is the most popular. The blue-faced Leicester, it says in brackets there how it's pronounced. Pronounced Leicesters? There we go. Pronounced Leicesters. So the blue-faced Leicester get their name from the dark blue appearing skin showing through the white hair on their heads. They were developed to play a role in the development of mules, a cross of both meat and wool breed sheep, in the early 20th century in the north of England. They are raised in the UK, Canada, and the USA. BFL sheep are mostly white, however, there can also be dark black or gray. About the wool. Blue-faced Leicesters is the finest of the long wool breeds. It has the durability and luster of the long wools with the next to skin softness. BFL wool takes dye well and is moderately feltable. BFL yarn has a range of uses: socks, sweaters, and other garments. BFL garments would hold up well to intense wear, but are soft enough to be comfortable next to the skin. BFL yarn is great for weaving, and items will drape well without feeling heavy. Our BFL wool is sourced from a farm in central Manitoba. The average staple length is 3 to 6 inches, and that means how long, if you were to pull it apart, how long a single fiber would be. The fiber diameter is 24 to 28 microns. So was that less than the other one? So slightly less than the Wensley. And the fleece weight is 2.5 to 4.5 pounds. So I think that means how much you could get off a single sheep. And it has distinctive spiraling locks, it says. All right, where did I put my scissors? So vacuum packed. We can see there's still a fair amount of vegetable matter in it. Because it's a lighter fleece, we can see more of that. Let's find an end. There we go. So, yeah, I think it is next to skin soft, but nowhere near as soft as that Wensley. I'd never heard of the Wensley sheep before. Look forward to getting both of these, actually. So, there's our staple, our roving. So, yeah. So, another rabbit hole to go down through. I think I might do what I saw Roxanne Richardson do on her podcast, is knit up a square from each fleece. Just knit up a square from my yarn and then put them together as a blanket. Okay. That's all my acquisitions. Oh, I do have a pierogi shaped charm I bought. I forgot to mention in the update that, where's the charm? We went to the Ukrainian festival. My husband's family is Ukrainian. Rywicki is a Polish-Ukrainian name. And at the festival, my husband and my daughter bought beautiful embroidered shirts, which I'll put a picture in for you. And I bought a little pierogi charm that I will use as a progress keeper. I could attach it to a stitch marker. Because, yeah, that's pretty tiny to be attaching directly to the fabric snag, and I think I'll attach it to a stitch marker. So that's a pierogi. A Ukrainian food. But I like once in a while. I'm not as obsessed about them as the rest of my family is. Okay, that's it. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions, let me hop a line, and you can find me on everywhere as Be Making Joy. And until next time, happy knitting, happy crocheting, happy beading, happy diamond dotting, happy jigsaw puzzling, happy baking, happy whatever it is that you like to do. Go make some joy.